A man developed a super sniper rifle. After aiming at his target, he pulled the trigger without hesitation. The bullet actually penetrated a 10-meter thick concrete wall in the distance. The man could hardly believe his eyes. When his friend came forward to check the situation, he discovered that the 10-meter thick concrete wall had been completely pierced through. Behind the wall was a massive hole with a 100-centimeter diameter. Even the abandoned factory behind the wall had been shot through by the bullet. Next, they needed to test the gun's stability. Alan had his friend set up a camera nearby. Then Mike continuously pulled the trigger. Unexpectedly, the steel-frame suspension bridge instantly disintegrated. This weapon's power was too overwhelming. His companion listed the weapon for sale on a shopping website. A military officer saw their sales posting. But when both parties met for the transaction, the officer actually started mocking the toy gun in Mike's hands. Mike wasn't fazed at all. He aimed at a tank a kilometer away. Then he pulled the trigger. Such a sturdy tank couldn't withstand a single bullet. A bullet suddenly came shooting toward them. People quickly scrambled for cover, but Mike opened up his self-developed weapon. Immediately after, he pulled the trigger toward the forest. A farting corpse washes up on the shore. Hank, who's stranded on the island, goes over to take a look. Hank stares at the corpse in amazement. There's no evidence that it's alive, but it just keeps farting. Even when getting swept up by ocean waves, it can propel itself forward using the recoil from its farts. Hank gets a brilliant idea. He grabs a rope and climbs on top. Harry Potter can fly on a broomstick, but he can ride Harry Potter himself. He uses the corpse like a jet ski. The two of them gradually drift away from the island. But the man isn't skilled at driving a jet ski for the first time. When Hank wakes up, there's a bag of snacks in front of him. They've drifted to another deserted island. His phone still has no signal. He carries the constantly farting corpse on his back into the deep woods. The trash scattered throughout the forest becomes vital supplies. For example, this smooth cork can save Hank from being bothered by the farting sounds. Hank also discovers he's carrying more than just a corpse. There's actually fresh water in its mouth, and its chest works like a switch. Hank drinks many cups of water. Although it tastes a bit strange, at least he can survive now. Just as Hank wants to continue, the corpse suddenly starts talking.
Hi, Manny. I'm Hank.
Hank thinks Manny is some kind of mutant human who has no memory of human society whatsoever. Manny's mind is equivalent to that of a baby. Hank tries to restore Manny's memory. He uses the trash scattered everywhere to create models of things from the real world, and then explains them to him. But unexpectedly, Manny is only interested in a swimsuit magazine. This makes him feel like he has a heartbeat. But then Hank discovers something. It's not just Manny's upper body that's come alive.
Whoa! 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 It's moving! What's happening? What is it? It's alive! What is it? It's moving! Oh, God!
But after Hank calms down, he discovers that Manny's little guy is actually a compass. It always points in the same direction. As long as Manny keeps longing for love, they can find their way home. But Manny can't maintain this for very long. The compass can no longer point in the right direction, and there must be fierce wild animals nearby, because there's a pile of fresh droppings on the ground. Hank accidentally falls down the slope. Manny sees the photo on Hank's phone. It instantly comes back to life again. Actually, that's the girl Hank likes. Manny wants to keep looking.
Hank, what if I knew her? Maybe she's my friend, or my girlfriend, or my wife. It's like you said, love is bringing me back to life. I'm your Baltimore tool guy.
But the phone is about to die. Hank decides to dress himself up to look like his beloved girl. Elite assassins wielding massive cannons are ready to strike. Their target, 2 children inside the house. Just as the killers burst through the villa's front door, the alarm system blares to life. The moment the kids realize they're in danger, they quickly dive into the house's built-in escape pod. The assassins have already breached the interior, but the children immediately hop on an elevator that takes them down to the underground safe room. Brian slides down after them. While they're temporarily safe here, the sharp-eyed killers soon discover the escape pod hidden in the fireplace. One assassin tries to investigate, but gets launched backwards by a hidden booby trap. Now the killers are furious. They unleash their cannon, blasting the escape pod to smithereens. The safe room is no longer safe. The kids frantically jump into escape chairs, and in the next second, they're plummeting at light speed before arriving in another dimension. As the assassins move in to check things out, 2 spacecraft suddenly burst out of the pipeline, knocking the killers flat on their backs as they watch the pair escape. The assassins are even more enraged now. They transform their weapons into flying vehicles and take off in hot pursuit. The children spot the killers behind them, but just then, their mother suddenly takes control of the ship's navigation system. The spacecraft kicks into light speed, successfully shaking off the assassins. Mom pilots the ship to spy agency headquarters. Once they arrive, they're escorted to the laboratory. Lisa has other matters to attend to, so she leaves the kids to wait here. But seeing all these weapons around them, the children decide they want to handle this themselves. After gearing up with the weapons, Brian helps them reach the teleportation device. They quickly locate the assassin's position and activate the teleporter. But Lisa suddenly bursts in. Security tries to get the kids down, but they're a split second too late. After experiencing the incredible teleportation, the children find themselves in front of a clock shop. They go inside for a closer look and successfully discover a hidden mechanism that opens a secret door. Taking an elevator, they make it down to the underground world, where there's an enormous clock. The father sent his daughter into the operating room, but halfway through the surgery, someone took a package out of the operating room. Then his daughter was sent to the intensive care unit. Robert believed the hospital had deceived him. He tried to ask the dean for an explanation, but security stopped him. Helpless, Robert sued the dean. Eventually, the hospital gave an explanation. The surgery was successful, but it might have been the patient's constitution that caused side effects from the anesthesia. The hospital couldn't solve this. The plaintiff demanded to see the operating room footage. The footage had been deleted. The hospital had no obligation to preserve the footage, so it wasn't sufficient evidence of deceptive behavior. The court dismissed the plaintiff's request. After hearing the verdict, Robert set up a tent outside the hospital. He continuously protested the hospital's actions. Mike saw his demonstration. He wanted to help Robert. Mike disguised himself as a doctor and came to the hospital. He slipped in the moment the operating room door closed, but just as he switched his glasses to recording glasses, an alarm sounded throughout the operating room. The operating room actually had a camera detector. Mike quickly hid in a cabinet. Just as the dean was about to open the cabinet, the alarm sounded again. Lisa helped Mike through hacking. The dean stopped what she was doing. She thought the alarm system was malfunctioning. This mission failed, but there must be secrets in the operating room. This time, Mike decided to disguise himself as a patient, and he would bring the recording glasses in with him. He would turn on the recording function 3 minutes after entering the operating room. This way, the dean would think the alarm system was broken again. After Mike entered the operating room, the doctor immediately gave him anesthesia. 1 second before he fell asleep, the dean seemed to notice something. She took off Mike's recording glasses, but the cautious dean made a big mistake. She placed the glasses in a position facing the operating table. Lisa turned on the recorder. The alarm instantly echoed throughout the operating room. The dean indeed thought the alarm was broken again. She took out a remote and turned off the alarm, but the dean didn't start the surgery. She called out another person. This doctor was the one who would actually perform the operation. This girl plans to assassinate the Russian ambassador. She deliberately gets herself pregnant first. When a pregnant woman walks into the hotel, the security guards won't suspect she's an ace assassin. She pretends to have pregnancy symptoms, claiming she has low blood sugar. While the security guards go to find her something sweet, Lisa quickly swaps out the ambassador's phone that he placed beside him. In just a few moments, the electromagnetic weapon inside the phone will activate and kill the ambassador instantly. Even when Lisa is stopped by security, she doesn't panic because they're just bringing her a drink. No one would suspect an innocent pregnant woman. The hotel lobby descends into chaos as the entourage loudly calls for an ambulance. Just as Lisa enters the elevator, a security guard prepares to go downstairs to call for backup. Lisa is the only outsider, and even though her disguise is perfect, this still raises the guard's suspicions. Lisa doesn't panic. As an assassin, she's always prepared for potential exposure. The kid waiting for the elevator outside is probably seeing such a formidable pregnant woman for the first time. Lisa's fake belly isn't just for show. It can block knives in critical moments. Unfortunately, there's too much commotion in the elevator, so Lisa can't quietly slip away. She pulls out the guard's gun and rushes out. She's the movie's protagonist, so ordinary people simply can't hit her. Lisa is part of an organization. The extraction team for this mission has already mapped out her escape route. However, to shake off the pursuers, Lisa decides to try a different route. When the security guards break down the door and discover the large hole in the banquet hall glass, they'll assume the assassin chose a high-altitude escape. But in reality, Lisa is already changing clothes in the stairwell. In just a few dozen seconds, a blonde pregnant woman transforms into a hotel staff member. Lisa calmly walks out of the stairwell. The security guards have received information about the assassin, but their target description is completely wrong. Now Lisa just needs to reach the extraction point, and this mission will be completed successfully. The woman straps the fingerprint scanner to her waist. Then she dances with the man. This way she obtains the man's fingerprint data. Then she transmits the fingerprint data to her teammates. They plan to use this fingerprint to steal a diamond necklace worth $600 million. Her teammate Alan shoots out a grappling hook. The grappling hook secures to the exterior wall. Then he activates the pulley in his backpack. The cable takes him up to the upper floor. Alan successfully infiltrates the building. Then he uses a laser to cut through the cover of the secure room. But after he removes the cover, Alan discovers many moving lasers below. Touching the lasers will trigger the alarm. Alan decides to wait, because his teammate quietly infiltrated the security room. Mike uses a tranquilizer gun to put the security guard to sleep. He quickly takes control of the building's security system. He shuts down the laser grid inside the secure room. Alan safely descends using the cable. He has now reached the entrance to the vault. Mike remotely controls a mechanical spider. He plans to use the spider to crack the vault door's code, but a dog suddenly appears and bites the spider. The dog bites off one of the spider's legs. Mike controls the spider to release high voltage current. After the dog is electrocuted, it gets scared, shakes off the spider, and quickly runs away. The spider quickly transforms into a ball shape, moving rapidly forward, then transforms again. The spider quickly climbs up the vault door, using detectors to locate the door controller's position. After moving above the control box, it deploys its welding torch, cutting through the door. A small hole is cut in the vault door. The spider aims at the hole and releases pulse current. The current quickly transmits to the door's control circuit board. It opens the vault door. Alan quickly enters the vault. Diamond necklace is right before his eyes. Alan immediately puts on the high-tech gloves. Mike quickly transmits the man's fingerprint data to the gloves. Alan performs fingerprint recognition. The fingerprint recognition is successful. Alan successfully opens the display case. They successfully steal the diamond necklace worth $600 million. The thief stole the bank manager's suit. He replaced the buttons with cameras. Finally, he carefully hung the suit back in its original position. When the bank manager put on the suit and returned to the vault, the thief could monitor everything through the cameras. The manager said this place had the world's best security system. Opening the vault not only required his palm print, but also needed to verify his voice. Only when both verifications were passed would the system open the vault door. The two thieves immediately activated their theft plan. They followed the manager to the gym. When the manager left the treadmill, Mike quickly removed the film used to steal the palm print. They successfully obtained the manager's fingerprint, but they still needed the manager's voice. They decided to call the manager, then used professional equipment to record the manager's voice during the phone call. Now they had both keys. That night, they came to the building next to the vault. First used an electric saw to cut through the vault's concrete wall. Then used an electric drill to drill 2 holes. Then inserted specially made expansion bolts into the holes. When the expansion bolts were completely secured in the wall, they pulled hard to remove the cut section of wall. They successfully infiltrated the vault through the opening. They took out gloves with the manager's palm print. Palm print and voice verification succeeded. After the vault door opened, Robert quickly took out the infrared interference device. Mike unfolded a specially made flatbed cart. After installing the interference device at the front of the cart, he carefully lay down on top of the cart. At this time, the infrared beams in the corridor were constantly moving. Robert directed Mike. Mike used his fingers to slowly move forward. He avoided all the infrared scans. Then he pushed the interference device to the designated position. Robert quickly pressed the switch. All infrared beams in the corridor instantly became disabled. Now they were only one door away from the jewelry. The two quickly used tools to drill holes in the vault door, then inserted a micro probe deep into the hole. Using the camera, they could observe the state of the lock mechanism. The two kept trying the door lock's password. Soon the password was completely entered correctly. The two successfully opened the vault door, but they didn't take these jewelry worth hundreds of millions of dollars. Instead, they chose the safe in the corner. Robert took out tools to blast the safe's bulletproof glass. Then he carefully took out the wooden box to examine it. Inside the box was his target, but Mike suddenly pulled out a gun and aimed it at Robert. The man opens the sniper rifle's chamber. After loading 2 9.3mm armor-piercing rounds, he hides himself in a sand pit. His companion carrying a flamethrower walks over, then also hides behind a sand dune. They waited in the desert for 2 hours. Finally, they waited for the armored truck loaded with tens of millions of dollars in cash. The armored truck driver looks at the sand piled up on the road. He immediately senses something abnormal. The driver uses a control handle to operate the rooftop camera to observe the surrounding area, but doesn't discover anything unusual. Although the driver is very afraid, he still chooses to continue forward, but the vehicle gets stuck as soon as it reaches the sand pile. The panicked driver tries to break free, but the vehicle doesn't get out, instead gets stuck even deeper. Mike immediately aims at the tires and pulls the trigger. The guards immediately realize there are terrorists. He presses a button to activate the machine gun mounted on the camera, but they used up all their bullets and still didn't spot the criminals. Alan carries the flamethrower and aims at the driver's cabin, spraying flames. The temperature inside the driver's cabin rises rapidly. The two armored car guards can only open the doors to escape for their lives. However, just when the two think they can escape, Mike has already aimed at them with his sniper rifle. After the guards died, Mike quickly climbed out of the sand pit. After reaching the side of the armored truck, he needs to dig out the tires they had hidden in advance. The third teammate uses a jack to lift up the armored truck. They first change to new tires, then take out the hidden steel plates, lay them in front of the armored truck's wheels, getting in the vehicle and gently pressing the gas pedal. The armored truck stuck in the sand pit successfully drives out. The man released a microdrone disguised as a beetle from under his collar. He was remotely controlling the beetle. The beetle quietly crawled into the CEO's collar. When the CEO was entering the door password, the beetle quietly crawled out from the collar and filmed the door password. Lisa successfully recorded the password. The beetle then flew to the door scanner. When the CEO performed the iris scan, the beetle captured the CEO's iris information. Lisa printed the iris onto contact lenses. They now had the CEO's iris information. This time their theft target was high-tech samples worth $200 million inside the zero-gravity laboratory. Alan came near the laboratory. He first stole an employee's ID card. Then he transmitted the ID card data to his teammates. Lisa forged a new ID card. Subsequently, Alan successfully opened the door using the forged ID card. After entering the company, he put on high-tech glasses. Using sonar signals, he obtained the building's 3D structure. After determining the location of the zero-gravity laboratory, Alan immediately headed to the laboratory. At this time, Mike was lying on an electric skateboard. He quickly infiltrated the building from surveillance blind spots. Then he placed controllable anesthetics in the drinking water pipes. After the security personnel in the building finished eating, Alan took out a remote control and activated the anesthetics in the security personnel's bodies. All the security personnel collapsed. Alan followed Lisa's instructions and entered the door password. The first door successfully opened. Then Alan took out the contact lenses with the CEO's iris information. He quickly put the contact lenses into his own eyes. Successfully passed the iris recognition, Alan immediately jumped into the laboratory. After knocking out the scientists inside, he took out a sample case from behind. The high-tech samples worth hundreds of millions of dollars thus entered the device.